Well, here we are again talking about Wrony some more. You probably didn't expect this to happen, but there was a lot that went into me trying to get a hold of this and just even making the video. I had to do sort of a behind the scenes thing and even talk a bit about film preservation because this film is not well preserved. Now, I said it in the video. I'd been looking for this. I decided to do this video as my first movie review about 9 months ago, and took months for me to find copies on eBay. Like I said, I only came across like 3 copies, and 2 of them were like within the same week, and then they went away. Finding it just is a nightmare. You put in Crow's 1994, Crow's VHS tape, you get the Brandon Lee film, The Crow, from 1994. It's not the first time this has happened to me. We'll get to that. You put in the Polish title, Wrony, mine would change Wrony to Wrong, and it was like some music DVD or something. It was almost a nightmare just to find the VHS. Now, kind of a little funny thing, I was looking for this when I first kind of remembered what it was back around 2006, 2007 when I was out in Seattle, and I was thinking, Seattle's got a lot of stores that were still doing VHS at the time. And Seattle's a pretty happening artsy town. I'm like, somebody's got to get this. Well, my copy says Rain City Video in Fremont, Seattle. I went there looking for this, but because at the time I don't want to talk to people. I was just so nervous about asking this. I never asked if they had the movie. Plus, this time I couldn't find any pictures of it online. If you do find pictures now, it's pretty much just the case. By the time I couldn't, you're looking. Whenever I'd ask for Crows, they'd give you The Crow. So I was trying to find it under the Polish title, like it was listed on the Internet Movie Database at the time, and it wasn't working. And so I was at this video store, like I said, 2006, 2007. I guarantee you I walked right by this thing. I probably looked right at it and kept walking, not realizing it was the movie I'd been looking for. So the other connection with the Brandon Lee film, which is one of my favorite films of all time, oddly enough, that's how I discovered this movie. This has been about 2000, and this film came out in 94, as I stated in the video. And the VHS has a copyright of 98, so this has been about the right time, around 2000. I was babysitting for my neighbors. They were like members of the Elks Club, I think, and they would go like every Saturday night or whatever, and I'd go watch their kids. So I was there, put the kid to bed, and they had cable TV, which we didn't. And I'm going through like the TV Guide channel, and I see a movie on one of the channels that says Crows, 1994, and I'm thinking it's The Crow with Brandon Lee, which was also released in 1994. I just figured it was a typo. I've seen that before. I remember staying up late one Saturday night to watch Nightmare on Elm Street, and they showed Nightmare on Elm Street Part 2 until like the last 10 minutes, and then I guess somebody realized they goofed, and they put the last 10 minutes of Nightmare on Elm Street Part 1 on. And then the next week they just went ahead and showed Nightmare on Elm Street Part 1 anyway, so that was weird. Getting off on a tangent. So I'm like, oh cool, The Crow's on. It's one of my favorite movies. I'm going to watch this again. Put it on, and needless to say, this is absolutely nothing like that film. But, and I said it in the video, it's got that hauntingly beautiful cinematography and that soundtrack. And that's the thing. This would be the type of movie I probably would have turned off. Back then and even now, I'm not, big, just full-on drama, artsy type film like this. But that opening scene where you see the main character, she's like jumping up and down and she's cawing like a crow, and you got that soundtrack and just the way everything's framed and the colors, you're just like, whoa, what's this? What's this kid's deal? Like, I gotta find out what's going on here. Which you don't really get any answers to anything like that, but it is that type of movie. It just grabs you and it pulls you in with next to nothing, and it just holds you there. Trying to get this was just a major pain in the ass. But the real pain in the ass, after I had it, I was like, well, I'll copy it to DVD, and even though I had problems getting discs into my laptop, I'll go ahead and give it a shot, because I couldn't find any other copies of it online. I found a few clips on YouTube, but nothing really. I couldn't even find it. I found a trailer, but it's like a fan-made trailer with a different soundtrack. But then I see on this, video cassette is encoded with anti-copying stuff. But I thought, that's just the VHS stuff. I should be able to copy it to a DVD, no problem. Put a blank DVD in my DVD recorder, put this in the VCR section, start the movie, fast forwarded through all the previews, get to the opening title, grab my remote, hit record, pops up on my TV. Can't copy this film or whatever. Something along those lines. So I'm like, crap, what am I going to do? So I'm looking all over YouTube, I'm looking all over Google, and I find a copy online. I'll just throw it. I didn't want to put the website up there. But it's on Dailymotion. And as I stated in the video, it's a really nice print, but it doesn't have subtitles. But I ran down the movie for you. You shouldn't have any problems. I would recommend it. So that's the version of the film. I went ahead and downloaded that. YouTube clip converters and Dailymotion clip converters are not the same thing. I had a feeling they wouldn't be, but I was hopeful. So just getting it downloaded was a whole process. And that version had not one but 2 watermarks on the top, like each corner of the screen. And they weren't even like on the edges of, like, you know, because it was like this letterbox style. It wasn't even in the black border. It was on the video. So I had got it downloaded. I'm like, well, now I got to crop that out because of how there might be a way to just crop the top off. I'm not quite that good with my editing software yet, so I had to do a pan and crop and do it in a square formation. So I estimate I probably lost 25% of the screen, just all off the edges, but everything is just shot so beautifully. That was a huge, tremendous loss. I feel like, you know, when you watched my overview of my summary, you weren't getting the best quality video. Better than what this is, but not as good as it could be. And that was the thing. Like, I felt like I butchered the movie. And it got worse because I haven't cropped that off because I sit in front of my camera like this and talk about these things. So I'm overlaying the video footage. Well, now I cut these edges off. So now this isn't even full screen. So you can see like the sides of me talking about the movie. So I'm like, well, now I got to get rid of the aspect ratio and stretch this out to full screen. So I cropped it down and then stretched it out. And it looks better than I thought. I mean, you would never know this if I hadn't told you this, but to me, I feel like I butchered the movie. But I had to. The other thing I didn't realize, like I found it was the full movie. I kind of scanned through it real quick. You know, I'm like, okay, this full movie is like 55 minutes long. When I was editing the film and I got to the part where I was talking about Wrony going and like kidnapping the little child, that's not in the version that's on Dailymotion. Somehow it's like the scene of her in bed with her mother trying to wake her mother up, and then it repeats that scene a second time, and then goes to this whole thing where, you know, Rona brings the child back to her place, and they eat together, and she gives her the bath and all that. So her kidnapping the child and then like going to the wedding, which I talked about, it's not even in the Dailymotion version. So I was praising that version of the movie, but you're actually going to miss probably 5 minutes of the film, and it's 5 minutes that are important, and you're seeing this other scene twice. So I still recommend, if you want to watch the movie, find the Dailymotion video, but be aware you are going to miss that part of the film. And then something else I should mention, the scene where Wrony gives the child a bath, there is child nudity in this film. I do want to put that out there. And you got to remember, this is 1994 in Poland, artsy film. It's nothing much. It's maybe a grand total of 4 seconds between like 2 scenes, but it is in there, and I realize that can make people uncomfortable. And it's even weird just talking about, like, yeah, that's a thing in here. I feel like there could have been a better way to film that, but not my call. And like I said, everything else in this film just shot so perfectly. So there was that, which was another thing that came to video preservation. My first thought about copying this was, I want to distribute, like, somebody has to distribute the movie, and like, I'm the only person talking about it. I was doing a research to get more background on it, and I found a review from like 2014, 2016, which I stayed away from because I didn't want that to like cloud my judgment. So I'm like, me and one other person have talked about this movie, apparently. I should go back and read that review now. But I was like, somebody's got to put this out there. So I was like, well, if I can copy it to DVD, my first thought was I can just upload it to YouTube. And I was like, I don't really want that on my channel, though. Where I was like, I can get in trouble. And then the scene with the child nudity, I was like, yeah, no, I'm definitely not doing that. Given what this is, it puts me in a gray area, but I don't want that up on here. So then I thought, well, I could try and get to some of the channels I know that put up Polish movies with, again, English subtitles, and be like, hey, I've got an English subtitle copy that you could put up. Print's not very good because I ripped it from a VHS, but it is what it is. So that didn't work. because I couldn't make the copy anyway. So then I thought, okay, well, if I get this copy from Daily Motion, it's not a long movie, and I've already got a subtitled copy. I don't even need to translate things. I could go back and add the subtitles to it, and then we got a nice, clean copy of it, which we're missing the like couple scenes anyway. But also because I had to crop everything down because of those watermarks, wasn't going to work anyway. So that leads me to, if you want to watch this movie in full with those like 2 scenes intact, you have to track this down on VHS, and it's a pain in the ass to do. And this movie deserves to be preserved. Like, more people should know about it. It should be on VHS. Or it is on VHS. It should be on DVD and Blu-ray. Like, if a streaming service should pick this up. The fact that I can only find like that one copy on the internet even, it just blows my mind. And same with the soundtrack. I couldn't find any of this. Now, I stated I didn't get a copy of the soundtrack to insert the music into my video. The music you heard in the background of the video is the soundtrack from the film. I just ripped it from certain audio points, including the ending credits and a few spots in the middle. But a lot of times when stuff like that was going on, it was like scenes where they were at the beach and you could hear like the waves and like the birds, and I really didn't want any of that other ambient sound in there. So what I did is I took from the ending credits and like one other spot, and it wasn't even enough. My video is 6 minutes long, 6-7 minutes, and it wasn't even enough to cover that. I had to like interlace it together, and I had to do stop this version here and start this one here so that the music overlapped, which was quite the process. Sitting back here with my headphones on trying to engineer that up, which is not where my background is. Despite being into music, trying to do that was a whole thing. So I had to go through all that. I did find a copy of the soundtrack, but I figured I'd find it on maybe somebody had uploaded it to YouTube, because like the movies like With Fire and Sword and Pan Vodioski and all 3 of those soundtracks are on YouTube. Now I was able to find a CD. It was like all 3 of them, and I found a couple copies of that. Most of them were in the triple digits, but I was able to find them for like $30, and I got that. So I have official copies. With this one, I found one copy of the CD online, and it was like $100. I'm like, I can't drop that, dude. CD only, no MP3. Again, nobody ever uploaded it to YouTube. And then the way that went down, I was like, man, I am going to get hit with a copyright strike for this one for sure, but I usually do for music anyway, even when I'm using like royalty-free stuff. To date, my review of this film is the only one that doesn't have a copyright strike, which I think is funny because I butchered into the soundtrack into it, and I got the stuff from the movie, which shows how little people know about this film and why it should be preserved. And I get just like part of it is finding it, because it gets mixed up with the Brandon Lee film, which has nothing at all. I mean, this is this artsy drama about 2 little girls. That's a action, kind of an action fantasy romance about a guy coming back from the dead to take revenge on his and his fiance's killers. Couldn't be further from the same thing. Though there is a Japanese movie called Water Boys that I'm a huge fan of, and that is about a all-male synchronized swim team and is based on a true story. That gets confused with the Adam Sandler movie The Water Boy. Those same titles, pretty much the same series, but completely different films. So that does happen. But another thing I thought about was other movies that I know of that I always thought should be preserved. One, always lifelong James Bond fan, and I remember seeing this film advertised. I only saw the commercial twice when I was a kid on TV in Iowa for this animated film called Freddy as FR07, and it was like a frog parody of James Bond, and I'm like, I want to see this, but I never even heard about it being in theaters. Completely forgot about the movie, and then one day, this was back, again, when I was back out Bremerton area, I was at a thrift store, and I came across a VHS tape that said Freddy the Frog, and I'm like, is that the movie I think it? Like, is that the one I thought of? But I could remember the title, Freddy is FR07. $1 for a VHS tape, I bought it, and it was the movie, but it was like a re-edited version from like 2 to 3 years later. They didn't release the film on home video. It got put in theaters in the United States, but it was never put on home video. And then they went like 2 or 3 years, and they re-edited it, gave it like this whole introduction with James Earl Jones. Completely butchered the film. Like, the original film's not, like, there's a reason you've never heard of it. Nobody remembers it. But this version's even worse. So that's a movie that I feel needs to be preserved, and it kind of has been because it has a cult following. And you can actually find that one on YouTube. The original UK version is on YouTube, and a bunch of like nostalgia critic wannabe guys have tried to like tear it apart because it is a mess of a movie, but it's got such a fascinating backstory. I'm not going to get into it here, but and it was actually a bigger thing. Think like Ben Kingsley voices the main character. Michael Burhan and I were talking about this years ago. I had mentioned it in a conversation. He's like, "Oh, I love that movie." He's like, "Man," he goes, "that came out when I was a kid," and he goes, "There were all sorts of like behind the scenes stuff on TV." He goes, "It was like the biggest thing," and the movie's terrible and it tanked, and it's pretty much been forgotten. But that is on YouTube. At the very least, there is a way to see that in its entirety, and it's the original version, not that re-release version we got in the United States years later. Another one that came to mind was the Super Mario Brothers anime. That the same director who did Little Nemo Adventures in Slumberland did this Super Mario Brothers anime film. That has been forever. It was all but lost. Like VHS copies. I remember when I was in Japan, and I first found out about this. So this would have been like 2004, 2005, and my buddies tell me like it's so rare and so obscure that like you could find like a VHS on auction sites, but you're shelling out probably a couple $100 for it. Well, that's up online on YouTube now. People have added subtitles. I've even seen they like dubbed it, and it's done like a really bad like 80s anime dub. It's just kind of funny like that. So like that's basically come back from being almost non-existent. This film deserves to be in this, that same category. Somebody needs to get a good copy of this, get it subtitled, put it up online. Like it really deserves it, and it's a film that shouldn't be lost. So, that's really all I had to say. It was the weirdest thing making this video. It took me. I mentioned that I'm OCD, and usually when I sit down to edit, I try and do everything in one go. And this is a case of I watched the movie like 2 times. I watched it the day the VHS showed up, and then the day before I was going to do the video, I was like, I'm going to watch it one more time. This is a short movie. I'll watch it, take notes, and I had the camera set up. I'm like, I'll take notes, and then just what it. Watched it, turned it off, rewound it. Once that was done, so I didn't have the background noise, reached behind the camera here, turned the camera on, talked about the movie. And then I went to edit, and it took me the entire day to edit that video with everything that I had to do, trimming down the clips from the video and everything. And it occurred to me like, this is because I just sat like this, and like I would do in my old video game reviews, where I just kind of rambled to the camera about the footage, even though I took notes on it. Future video review, like film reviews, I gotta write a script for it because that didn't work. It took longer than it should have to even just film it, and then. Now that I know what I got to do to edit something like that, I got to get over my OCD because sitting there for about 8 hours picking out the movie clips and slicing them together, and then because I had to trim everything, I did something stupid. I should have taken the big clip of the movie, trimmed it down, then stretched it out. No, I had everything put together and then went, oh yeah, I got to do this, and so I was doing like clip by clip by clip. That's part of why it took me so long. So I'm glad I did something short like this first and not something long like The Deluge, which was a 5-hour long film. Now I know what I'm getting myself into, so that's kind of nice. So this is actually a very good learning experience for me, but yeah. So more to come as far as Polish film reviews go, but this is a movie. Try and find that Daily Motion one, watch it. If you can, get a copy on VHS, and somebody out there's got to know how to clean these things up and convert them and get them online. Clearly, I can't do that, and I'm wondering if maybe I find another copy that doesn't have that copy protection on it, because like not a former rental, if that would help. But people who are smarter about this and better at it than me need to get a hold of this, and somebody's got to make that happen. So I just want to talk about that. Wow, almost 20 minutes of me just rambling about making a video. I hope you enjoyed this, and I really hope you enjoyed the review. I didn't think a lot of people are going to watch that video. It's kind of a strange thing to be doing, especially since I want to do more like this. Most of the films I don't want to talk about are like historical epics, though. So a little bit more action oriented. But yeah, get the word out. Go see Crows. Wrony. Polish film. It's worth watching.